right, students, we've done the whole hairline with baby lights. And remember, usually people have finer hair in through the front area. If you think about men, they usually lose their hair in the front. Even women usually thin out in the front area. So baby lights always works great around that front hairline. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to the interior and we're going to put some highlights. We're not going to necessarily go baby lights. We're just going to go a little bit heavier weave, but not too heavy because we still want it to look natural. So the section right behind the baby lights, I'm going to come in at a very slight diagonal, and I'm going to be coming this way. So I'm going to start diagonal, and as I go up the hair, I'm going to almost pivot. Does that make sense? So that would be something like this. All right? So I'm going to start here, and as I go up on the head, I'm going to go in and I'm going to pivot so that you don't see that streaky, stripy line when you're up on, into the top area that you used to see back in the 70s and 80s. Think of Kelly Clarkson, right? It'll be more of a natural, very soft look coming in. So we're going to come in and we're going to go in at a diagonal, which I've already sectioned. You can clearly see. Instead of a baby light, though, you could call it just a regular highlight, almost like a fettuccine or a very thin spaghetti slice. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to come in and I'm going to do you can see how it's a little heavier than what I had before, right? So you can see the actual sections that I've taken out. I'm coming in here with my foil, again folding it, bringing it up tight, bringing it in, and then trapping that foil underneath my hair, right? And again, the angle of my body normally would be standing right in front of my client, but for the purpose of allowing you to see exactly what I'm doing, I'm standing behind my client, my mannequin. So very soft at the front, and then clearly you can see the saturation all the way through, right? And that's what you would want it to look like. Then you would take the foil, fold it in half. You want to meet this end to this end and then fold it. Sometimes people will fold it and it won't match up. So match up the ends first. Bring it this way. You don't want to seal the bottom because you'll cause that color to crease onto the hair, off the hair actually, and then you would fold it up, right? So my next section, I would just keep going until I'm almost at a pivot as I come up that hair. So I'm taking about maybe a little bit wider than a 1/4 inch subsections, between 1/4 and 1/2. And I'm going to take my next section, keep this hair out of the way, and I would come in and I would do the same thing. And I would come in and I would weave up and down, and I would come in and do this is not a baby light. A baby light would be a finer weave. This would just be like a regular highlight. And you can clearly see the different sections that I've taken out. Feather it up slightly towards the top, come to the bottom, hold that foil. Do not move that foil. Once you start moving the foil, it's going to slip away from the scalp area, and then it's going to be, it could actually bleed out. The product could bleed out. Match up that foil to the end, bring it together, and then fold it in half. There's a lot of different ways to fold the foil, students. You do what works best for you. Sometimes I'll do them all the same and then I'll press the sides in. Sometimes I'll individually press the sides in. But if I see that they're staying for me without me having to do that, sometimes I just leave it alone. Coming in again, and I would just take another section. And let me just share with you how the stitch would be something like this. It'd be up, 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 and up. So I'm literally bringing that up. It's kind of like a fish out of water. You see it jump up and out, up and out. So coming on to the next one. Very slight stitch. And here I am, coming in with my foil to the top, nice and tight. feather it out slightly toward the top, coming in through my hair. Make sure it's nicely and evenly saturated. And then coming in, don't move that foil too much, and then knead it up, and then fold it up in half. It's getting really hot in here, students, so I'm just going to wipe off real quick and then come back. All right, here we go. So I've done 3 sections already, and I'm going to start to pivot just a little bit more all the way as I go up. I'll take my next section. It'll be like this, and I'll weave that. I'll take my next section. It'll come out this way, and then my last section will come all the way up this way. So make sure that you start to pivot, otherwise you're going to end up with a horizontal weave all the way on the top, and you don't want that. So it's basically coming in this way, and then you're going to pivot, 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 pivot. All right, so I'm just going to do a few more, and then that'll be done. You'll be doing the same thing to the sides. I've already showed you the back on how to do the back, so I just wanted to show you something different for the front. Weave, 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 weave. Oh, that looks more like a baby light. And students, if you don't do it right, just drop it and do it again. Here we go, going that foil. Nice and tight. Pull that hair back and then slide it out. And then nice and tight with that foil onto the scalp. Saturate completely. Fold, meet it up first, and then you can close that. And then you could fold it up in half. And here's where you're really going to make that change for the pivot. So now I'm going to start coming this way. I'm going to go this way, and then I'm going to go this way, and then I'll pivot down this way. And this is just one look, students. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but I like this look because it's a very soft look. And then going with that foil. And your back sections will also be the same, except you're going to take horizontal sections very similar to the sections that you took when you actually did your tint touch-up. Remember, we did radial partings? Those are the same kind of sections you're going to be using on the back area of the head. But I wanted to show you the front because it's a little bit of a different technique, but I think you're really going to like it. And then pivot more. Let me just break that down a little bit. And then, again, move your client's head if you need to, coming up, and I can hold that in my hand, and I can go up and down, down. Allows me to get that nice fine weave. My foil, fold it over, coming this way, release, and apply my product. Feather it out slightly on the top. Make sure that hair is completely saturated all the way through. And remember, when it starts to get longer like this, you can literally flip those ends up onto that foil and they'll stay for you, but you want to make sure that they're completely saturated. You can see how I just brought them up. And then you're going to fold out and then fold it in half. See how nice and neat that looks? There's nothing greater than when you see a stylist doing a highlight and their packets looks like perfect, right? That means they've done a really good job. There's no slipping of the foils. And then coming on to your last pivot section, and that hair. Folding it over, bringing it on. This is going to be your smaller section because it's right on the apex. And students, if your foil slides, just pull that hair down a little bit and bring it right back up. It's easier to pull that hair when you first start applying than if you were to apply to your whole strand and then try to straighten it out. Sometimes you literally have to take the foil off, wipe off the hair, and restart all over again. And that's okay too, as long as you wipe it off completely. Make sure that foil is all completely covered, that hair, match it up, and fold it up. All right, students, so you would do the same thing on the other side that you just did here. We're going to stop now and we're going to transition. I just want to show you the same sectioning in the back. You would do the exact same section. You would start onto your radial partings and you would start from the bottom and then work your way up and slightly pivot as you get to the apex. All right, students, we're going to wrap this up and then we'll meet you next time to do some balayage.